Yeah, where it says
Hello.
when it says now recording, then it starts. I need to
Yeah.
get my now I need to get my screen up. File, new screen recording. It always goes off of my previous screenshot. I've been doing a whole bunch of 249 by 249s. So let me
Yeah.
just quickly get that adjusted. You're currently seeing I don't know what picture I'm going to put up on the screen yet. Okay, and record. Now here we go. All right. We've been teasing this episode for a little while, and now here it is, our werewolf versus vampire episode. I am Johnny, and that's Ryan, and Kyle isn't here, which is why I'm doing it my archaic iMovie screen recording way. Because Kyle's not here today because he's sick with the flu.
Yep.
He's got tree fever. That's why he's not here.
Hmm.
All right. Now, this is not us comparing Werewolf the game to Vampire the game. This is
No.
us pairing up different tribes and clans of Werewolf the Apocalypse and pitting them against each other, namely to see also who would win in a fight, but more what kind of chronicle would come out of a matchup like this. We have created 15 different matchups, and we'll see how many we can get through in 2 hours.
Yeah. Let's fucking do it.
Ryan, I'm coming at you completely random. I've shuffled all of these up. Let's see. We will begin with a Glassworkers versus Bruja. Let's have that be the first one.
Last Walkers versus Bruja. That's an
Okay.
interesting one.
Now, Ryan, tell me what you remember out the Glasswalkers.
They are essentially the techromancers.
Yeah,
They
Technophiles.
deal technophiles. They're the ones that deal majorly with like technology and making it what was it, the weave? I think it was.
Yeah, the Weaver.
Yeah, trying to integrate it into the weaver.
And you remember Clan Bruja because our favorite character, Sean's vampire Ragnar, was a Bruja.
So wasn't Colt, wasn't he?
Colt was a Gangrel. Probably should bring
Oh,
that up. Don't expect Clan Gangrel to appear in this video because that's just a little too easy. I mean, Clan Gangrel is directly tied in with Werewolf in a way that no other clan really is. So it kind of feels like I'm phoning it in when I do Clan Gangrel. So there will be no Gangrel this video, but we were saying about Bruja?
hmm. uh, Bruja is a. Honestly, I'm not gonna lie to you. I don't know much about the Bruja.
So the Bruja, do you like politics?
I know they're anarchists.
So
Um,
they're not just anarchists. So name a extreme political ideology.
uh, ideology is not the same thing as conspiracy theory, Ryan.
Well,
I,
yeah, you have conspiracy theorists. They can also be communists, um,
I,
neo-Marxists, racists, just any sort of idea, like any sort of big political related idea, the Bruja will just latch onto and then just make that their identity.
I got you.
So you've got one group, the Glassworkers, who used to be completely crazy libertarians back when they were the Iron Riders, versus the clan that says they're libertarians, the Bruja. Granted, the Anarchs run off the back of Clan Bruja, so yeah, these guys are pretty um, wild in their anarchy and libertarianism, but at the same time, that's not all they are too. When you look at the history of the two, you remember back when the Glassworkers were the Petrosomnians, where they were philosophers. When the Renaissance happened, they became these bibliophiles, where they just kept hoarding all these books. They said, Immanuel Kant, what an intelligent man. I say that's a guy who just can't stand Kant's philosophy. I compare that to with the Bruja, because they used to be philosopher kings. These guys used to be the most intelligent of all the vampire clans, because Athens Greek, that was them. And you look at them now, and the Glasswalkers range from throwing a Molotov cocktail into the window of a 7-Eleven to corporate tyrants. And then the Bruja are just so all over the place, you can't really call them a unified clan anymore. And also, they've both gone to civil war with each other before. I mean, we almost didn't have a Glasswalkers because the Iron Riders were killing each other in the 20s. And Bruja, I don't know how many different times this clan has gone to war with themselves. But yeah, we've got chaos versus chaos with this one. So Ryan, do you
Yes.
have any ideas as to how these two we could pair them up in a
Uh,
story?
I'm assuming the Glasswalkers have they need to have some sort of political stance to do what they do, don't they?
Yeah, exactly. That stance is money.
Yeah. They need the what's it called? The cash flow, there's another word I'm thinking of. Revenue. There we go.
Yes. You need the revenue, and guess who really doesn't like big companies?
Uh Bruh.
Yeah, the Bruja, they absolutely hate capitalism. They were a majority of Occupy Wall Street. That was them.
The Bruja or the Glasswalkers?
The Bruja.
That's weird. If
Yeah,
they're against capitalism, why would they join it? To bring it down from the inside?
yeah. That no, like Occupy Wall Street was a bunch of people in the street saying Occupy Wall Street all day, every day, trying to disrupt the business as a whole.
Huh. Interesting.
Yeah, just have a gay all the time with the glassworkers. So, you remember a little anime that came out on Netflix called Cyberpunk Edge Runners, right?
Yeah, I haven't watched it, but I've seen it around.
You can pretty much imagine the basic plot where the kind of chronicle I'm thinking of is that it's the Glasswalkers versus the Bruja, where the Glasswalkers take the place of Arasaka or Militech if you want to go further into Cyberpunk, and the Bruja are the punks in question. And you have the Glasswalkers, I mean, they have plenty of different companies. You can look at Shinzui or DNA for their company. And the Bruja, doing what they do best, I am my own political strawman, are trying to tear down whatever business the Glasswalkers own. And thus you have those who invent the technology versus those who use that technology, and they're trying to kill each other throughout the entire game.
Interesting.
Do you have any ideas as to how else these two could fight, or should we move on to the next one?
Let's see.
This is some big brain energy.
How tech savvy are the Bruja? Not at all, or are they
Your
stuck in the
mileage
past?
severely varies. I mean, it's a coin toss. They're either horribly technologically impaired, or they are tech savvy.
Interesting. That only goes to show how widespread they are. There's
Yeah,
no
yeah. The
collection.
Bruja are just everywhere, dude. Well,
I can't think of anything else.
come to think of it, me just saying that made me think of something else. You remember the Iron Riders, the cowboy versions of the Glasswalkers? Have them pair up against the Bruja. Where behold, you like cowboy movies, right? You can have a gang of Iron Riders versus a gang of Bruja. I mean, you know Red Dead Redemption 2, Dutch Vanderland's gang. That's a perfect
Uh,
example of what the Bruja look like.
Interesting. Huh.
So if you want to play with the Wild West expansion, that's your matchup right there.
I was about to say Glasswalkers aren't very prideful anyway. I would say it. There's not much that they can match up against besides like money and tech, really.
That's all they want to focus on these days too. Is just money. We're in a sad state with
Abba
the
said it
Glasswalkers.
best.
You just gotta make profit forever. That's all you care about anymore. You don't care about the fight for Guy at all.
Abba said it
Should
best. It's a rich person's world.
we move on to the next matchup?
Yeah, let's do it.
Next, we have Black Furies versus Nosferatu.
So
Now,
I'm not as well versed in the vampire clans.
well,
Besides, like,
you remember Devi from our vampire game, right?
yeah, she also appeared in our werewolf game, right?
Yeah, the memory of her, where she's the spy, where she had her
Gotcha.
different birds, did surveillance, and she was able to know everything going on in Las Vegas through her birds.
Yeah.
You have something similar with that with the Black Furies, where when the Nosferatu use animals, the Black Furies use people. Because you remember, the Black Furies have the Sisterhood, which is
Yeah.
them and their single moms, their single mom girlfriends, and they make up this massive network of all these different women and women's shelters and women's movements. They meet up at the YMCA and online, and they all share information with each other. It looks like women gossiping, but no, it's a spy network. Compare that to Nosferatu, where that mosquito that just landed on your shoulder, that's a spy. That's gonna fly back to Nosferatu and then tell him everything he knows through animalism.
All right. So Nosferatus are like animal people. Like they
Spies.
yeah, they have their minions.
And same thing too. They're both social outcasts. You remember just how nasty Devi looked? No
Yeah.
hair, one eye bigger than the other, large teeth come out of her lips.
Yeah.
And the Black Furies, we can't really call them outcasts today because after the women's rights movement in the 1960s, you really don't have any sort of anything endangering the rights of women anymore, unless you get into more like Supreme Court cases. But we're not here to talk about Roe v. Wade today. Uh, the Black Furies were treated like shit by their own people for years and years. Same with the Nosferatu. The Nosferatu have always been at the bottom of the pole. Uh, Now you may be wondering, why didn't we pair up the Nosferatu with the Bonars? Is that, well, that's a little too obvious. We would just be reading directly from the Bonars book if that was the case.
Yeah.
So, our other outcast, the Black Furies, uh, you are both on the fringes of society within your own shadow society. Uh, you can either fight each other or you can team up, possibly. I mean, after all, the Nosferatu also will target women. Uh, you have a specific kind of Nosferatu called the Cleopatra, where that is a woman who is embraced into Clan Nosferatu just to spite her for being good looking. Imagine that, that a Black Fury kinfolk is the target of that. The Black Furies learn about this and then go after the Nosferatu because of that.
Yeah. It sounds like
Like,
a bloodbath waiting to happen.
absolutely, but the Nosferatu are waiting for it too. We talked about the Black Furies being a tank build in this game. The Nosferatu are a DPS build too. They have potence, and I told you what that does, right? It just
Yeah.
straight up adds 1 dot of damage to your brawl and melee attacks.
I did. Don't think I did know that.
So just imagine the kind of slugfest. You have the Black Furies who can tank hits versus the Nosferatu who can dish the hits.
Yeah.
It's gonna be
And
a fight that
in
goes
the
on for a
end,
long time.
yeah. In the end, it determines who has the best offense or defense.
Can you wild resurge fast enough to recover from the potence? And can you land enough hits before before the Black Furies eventually kill the Nosferatu?
Yeah. It's like you said, it's a time game at that point.
Mm.
Whoever can last the longest.
And also, did you get all the Nosferatu? After all, the Nosferatu are the masters of obfuscate, turning invisible, inaudible, and impossible to detect the body heat of. After the blood ends, the Black Furies, you gotta look around. Are you sure you got every single one of them?
Well, good thing about werewolves is they have their noses. They don't need to rely on their sight or the body heat of another.
You gotta rely on your primal urge after that, and after all, you did sniff out a Nosferatu in our werewolf game that one
Yeah.
time.
Was that the gator? Sewer gator?
No, it was the woman with the hood.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Do you have anything else to say about this pairing, or off to the next one?
No, I think we're good on that one.
All right. Bonars versus Zimichi. You remember
Bonars versus Samichi.
you remember how we said
Samichi's.
in our
Go ahead.
Bonars episode? Oh, yeah, you want to be reminded about the Zimichi, right?
Yeah.
Vigo and Grisha from our werewolf game.
Yeah. They're the ones who can knit flesh together, right?
Absolutely. They touch you, you lose.
What was that called again? You said
Vicissitude.
Cissitude. Yeah, that's what it is.
Yeah.
Vicissitude. Yeah.
With their powers of vicissitude, you have a one-hit kill vampire, where, like through Jukari and 40k, you will wish they will kill you. But now the Zimichi want you alive. They're going to drag you back into their basements and turn you into a lawn chair, and then keep you alive like that forever.
How do they feed them?
How they
'Cause
feed?
do they
Through
need to be fed?
through a straw.
Makes sense.
Have a little mouth somewhere on the chair.
And their versus the Bonars.
The Bonars who are the ultimate survivalist. If anyone's
Yeah.
going to escape the Zimichi, it will be the Bonars.
Yeah.
I mean, after all, think of all the different ways they can throw people off their trail. Like the mark, where they can tell where the Zimichi is. The right to the signpost, where they're able to throw a Zimichi off their trail. And the cardboard mansion, where you can just find a cardboard box, hide in it. Or that gift that lets you turn a dumpster into a portal. And behold, you just escape the Zimichi that way. I might be wondering, why did I pair these two up in particular? It has to do more with the community aspect to it, where the Bonars are all outcasts. They're all impoverished either by choice or by circumstance. And the Bonars are tightly knit with each other. Meanwhile, the Zimichi are eugenicists who can't stand to be around each other. The only thing the Zimichi love killing more than other people is each other. That is a group that has no cohesion whatsoever. And we talked about the Sabbat. And the Sabbat could have made so much more progress if it wasn't for the Zimichi holding them back all the time.
Yeah.
It's like
I'm s-
dead weight. It's dead weight at
I'm
that point. But oh,
surprised
they haven't
Vigo
kicked
and
out yet.
Grisha were together that long.
It has to do with the blood bond too, because Grisha is Vigo's sire.
Okay, that makes sense.
So behold, I have mind controlled you through blood that you can't kill me, no matter how much you want to.
Yeah.
And compare that to the Zimichi. The Bonars are the exact kind of people that Zimichi would love to kill. We brought up before with the Zimichi several times. These guys were fully on board with the idea of Nazism back in World War II. Guess who were targets of the Holocaust? The Bonars.
Mhm.
There you go. There's your World War II game right there.
Bonars versus Zamichi.
You remember the kind of experiments that Joseph Mengele would do, where I'm going to cut off your arms and then reattach them on the opposite sides of your body for science. The Zamichi did that, and it functioned.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because they're
So all the twisted shit that Zamichi can do to you.
it's terrifying to think about.
And after all, the Bonars, if you put them up against an enemy this powerful, there are so many different gifts and abilities that the Bonars have, where the more desperate the situation, the stronger their stats become. So, if their backs are against the wall, the Bonars probably could fight the Zimichi on even footing while they're in Zula war form.
They'd have to deal with they would have to pull out the guerrilla warfare.
Absolutely. There's no way you can fight a Zimichi head to head and expect to win. There's
Wow.
there's a reason why this is one of the most popular vampire clans. It's because vicissitude really is just that strong of a discipline.
Don't like to. We're gonna toot our own horn over here, but our werewolf party took care of a couple of them. No issues.
You managed
I
to
mean,
kill them
slight
before they could
issues.
kill you.
Almost
Now,
merged with Meep's character,
yeah,
Elmira.
that was a fun little gimmick we had, where the Zimichi can just meld into your bodies, and that's a fun way to possess people. You can't attack me because I am you.
Exactly.
Now, do we think we can fight Vigo and Grisha when we eventually have to face them in our werewolf game?
Uh, ah, there's so much I don't know about Vigo, and I don't think we'll be able to take on Grisha at all. I'm gonna say there's a chance with Vigo, but I honestly can't say whether we can or not.
Because Grisha's just like the final boss of
Yeah.
that game. uh,
Coming
do you
from
have any?
Grim's perspective, absolutely we can.
Absolutely, you just gotta stone up. You just gotta summon Fenrir for a big fight.
Yeah, exactly.
It's going to come at the cost of one of your arms, but whatever it takes.
Better than the cost of my life.
Do you have any other ideas for this pair up, or should we move on?
Zamichi and Bonars. Where do you think where was Zamichi originally located?
They started in Russia and East Europe.
Oh, okay. So nowhere near where the Bonars home is.
Yeah, because the Bonars started in North Africa. But keep in mind, the Zamichi love treasure. They love collecting stuff. They love gold. You know who needs money? The Bonars. I mean, as we talked in our Clan Ravnos episode, if you need money that badly, the Zamichi are. It is a high risk mission, but if you rob a Zamichi and get his money, you are set for the rest of your life.
Oh yeah, that's yeah, we did. We were talking about that because we were talking about heists with Ravnos.
You want to do a heist with
Uh,
Bonars?
yeah, a mixture of Bonars and Ravnos.
Go out to hire a Ravnus to scout it out, and
Yeah,
then just follow that guy. Hope he doesn't lead you into a death trap.
and hope that the Bonars aren't prideful like they get.
Yeah. Well, that was a good one, Ryan. You got any other ideas?
Uh, we talked about money. We talked about their advantages, but unless you have anything to add, I can't think of anything else.
See, I think I could have maybe something, but let's move on to the next matchup.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Fianna versus Setites, or the followers of Set, or the Ministry, depending on how you want to refer to these guys.
Interesting. The ministry.
And you remember just how twisted these fucking guys are.
Yeah, they were all into the drugs and the sex and
The absolutely depraved kind of stuff, like intentionally overdosing people with fentanyl,
yeah,
child pornography and trafficking, that kind of stuff.
so fucked up.
It's that if you think of something nasty and then think about how it could be nastier, that's the kind of stuff that the followers of Set like. And
And they're forcing the Fianna.
oh yeah, the Fianna. Guess what the Fianna like doing? Alcohol and drugs. You know who owns just about every drug circle in the world? The followers of Set.
If they're not careful, they'll get into some serious trouble
Oh yeah,
with the
absolutely.
litany.
Yeah, and imagine just the revelation that the Fianna would have the minute they realized just who they were buying their coke from.
Mm,
You
that's-
think it's just like your friendly neighborhood nonviolent drug dealer, but no, it's the Setites that you've been buying from.
so a matchup I can think with them is the drug not expansion, but the what we were already talking about, the drug
Yeah, cartels.
stuff.
Yeah,
Fianna trying to take over whatever they have so that they can, produce their own if they're not
but
already producing their own.
oh, yeah. You're familiar with JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, right, Ryan?
I haven't watched it, but I know about it.
The premise of Part 5 is that it's Giorno Giovanna trying to take over a mafia after he's realized that they're doing a narcotics trade, and he hates drugs with all of his heart. And the ultimate goal is that he's going to take over that mafia, shut it down, and then kill the narcotics team. Which you don't see in the anime. You have to wait. You have to read the book for that. But um, that you could have that kind of story with the Fianna.
Interesting.
Granted, it'll be more of an American mafia in that case, where I suppose the Giovanni can get involved. Unless it's a Haitian mob, which probably the Setites would be the only members of that. Uh, and also the Fianna could infiltrate that. I mean, we talked in our Fianna episode. You don't have to be white. You don't have to be Irish to be a member of the Fianna. You just need to marry into the Fianna, and then
Yeah.
boom, you're a member of the tribe.
Which is
I
kind
think
of
Mhm.
it's kind of easy to infiltrate the Fianna that way, isn't it?
To have a Setite ally marry into the Fianna.
Yeah.
That'll be a good way to screw over the Fianna too, where you need somebody to spawn the werewolves. We get a ghoul, and then plant her in the Fianna. And of course, the Fianna loves shotgun weddings. So behold, you end up knocking off that ghoul. She marries into the Fianna, and then behold, that's your spy.
It's like a way to destroy the Fianna.
Yeah, I'm looking at this too. I'm thinking like this is the matchup where it's stacked more in the favor of the vampire than is with the werewolf.
Yeah. I mean, the what was it? Ah, shit. Bonars versus Zamichi. That's
Yeah.
also stacked to the vampire.
That's a nail biter. You can see how the Bonars could pull a victory. The Fianna, they're smacking their heads against a brick wall with this one.
Yeah.
Think about too. I'm also thinking along the lines of, say, an alternate history where you remember the Fianna tried to go to the Septa Bygone Visions in Greece to teleport over so they could get in a fight with Rome. What if the Black Furies let them stay? The Fianna hung around a little while, and then they found the Setites while they were still recovering after the loss of Set.
Wasn't Malgav coming after Set as well, if I remember
Yeah,
correctly?
Malkav tried, but the Celestial Chorus caught him before he could reach him.
Oh, I see.
And Malkav suffered his first death, but he existed as the Madness Network, and now he's back in our werewolf game. But I digress. Set for what people knew at the time is that he was still in his tomb. So you could have the Fianna, after being stuck in Ireland for years and years, finally getting a mission of their own. And they decide, hey, if the Silent Striders can't do it, we'll do it for them. And they head into Egypt and fight the Setites.
Yeah, it doesn't look too good for the.
Yeah. I mean, after all, the Setites, we went over their disciplines, and Serpentis is an alarmingly powerful discipline.
Yeah.
Just how versatile it is. You got Fortitude, Presence, and Vicissitude all rolled. No, not Vicissitude, Protean, all rolled up into one discipline with that.
That's wild to me.
Just how strong that is.
It's 3-1, 4-1 actually.
It really is just that strong. Let's see. Also, the Changelings. I can see the Fianna winning this if they get the Fae on their side, or if they start getting their fairy allies on this. Because if you want to talk about Serpentis being stupid, the Changeling cantrips are game-breakingly powerful if you get the Unseelie on your side.
Interesting.
Yeah, you wanna fight a Setite on the street. The Unseelie Fae can just raise the asphalt off the ground, throw it into the air, and then let the Setite fall, and then get crushed by the falling asphalt.
Yeah, that's good old classic move Earth right there.
Exactly. And you do have to put up with a massive veil breach afterwards, but if you're under the gun and say you're doing a mission where you've got to very quickly kill some Methuselahs or uh elders within the Setites, the Unseelie and the Sealer are the guys to call for that. And granted, the city
Uh,
court would be just as disgusted the minute they find out who they're buying their drugs from.
yeah.
Let's see, do you have any more ideas for this pairing, or should we continue?
Uh, let's see.
You gotta think disgusting thoughts.
Yeah. I honestly can't say that I can think of anything else.
All right, I gotcha. I think we kind of covered like the general scope of what this matchup would be anyway.
Yeah.
All right, I think I know what's coming next. Yep, raise that banner high. Get a Fenris versus Ravnos. We briefly talked
Oh
about
boy.
this before.
Yeah. It'd just be one giant pride match.
Exactly, because you brought up a pretty good idea, where these are both soldiers obsessed with combat. Well, in regards to the Indian Ravnos, who are both waging a holy war, who have a common enemy in the Kuei Jin. You could have the Fenris do the crazy thing and go to China, where I don't see the Fenris doing that ever, but say they do. They end up meeting the Ravnos while on a mission, and then the Ravnos say, "We're on this holy war. We're killing the Kuei Jin. We've got this covered." And the Fenris say, "Oh, do you?" And then you have a killing competition between the two, where it's like Death Watch in Mad World, where it's a contest to see who can bury the most Kuei Jin within one night.
I can see the Get a Fenris going to China if they are in a heated competition with Ravnos. It's the only way I can see them going there.
Yeah, if they were in Europe and East Europe and they managed to catch a Romani or a Gypsy and then throttle them by the throat and they're interrogating that Ravnesser information, and they let out that about the holy war in India, that would catch the attention of the Fenris.
Absolutely. Anything that mentions war, and they're like, hey, you know what? Let's go.
It's time to stop a Karen in China. They head on over and then begin that contest. At the same time, would these two stay friendly allies the minute, like the rare event that they managed to kill all the Kuei Jin?
No, I don't think they would.
It's because the Ravnos used to be direct allies of the werewolves, like way back in like Ravnos's like very very early days, and by proxy with this relationship with Inoya and Clan Gangrel. But Clan Ravnos isn't the Clan Ravnos that started out to be. It's completely different. Where the war against the Kuei Jin has gone on for so long they don't remember why they're waging it, and the Ravnos of the West have completely disregarded it and have just become cat burglars.
I feel like the minute the war was over, the Get would be like, hey, these are some pretty strong opponents, and they're worm tainted. Or not worm tainted, but they're
Ima-
vampires.
Imagine their surprise if they used Sense Wild and they sensed the wild within Clan Ravnos.
Right?
That'll throw them through a massive loop, saying, "We thought you were wormish, but no, you've got wild spirits floating in you." Thank you, Path
Would
of
that
Paradox.
would that change them? Would that change their opinion of them? Would you think?
They start getting more wild powers, where the wild grants evolution, and with the extreme powers, like you read what chemistry does, and you saw just how ridiculous that power could get.
Yeah.
Uh, I don't think the Gaffimus would like it, but I think they would leave the Ravnus alone. Though the Gaffimus being the Gaffimus, I can sense the Gaffimus getting envious over that idea of whether or not the wild favors the Ravnos more than them. And they would start going to war with the Ravnos just to prove that they were stronger than them.
Yeah, I can see that too. They're
Alternatively,
very
well,
simple-minded.
very simple. It's that we just focus on war and strength, and that's our core values.
Absolutely.
And you look at the Ravnos of the West. I said before, Imagine how much fun it would be for a Ravnos to steal like the Spear of Gungnir from the Gafenris and try to escape with that.
I honestly don't think that they could.
The Gafenris, that you would be hunted down for the rest of your life if that
Yeah.
was the case. You better sell that
Even
spear
if
off
you didn't
quick.
have it. Even if you didn't have that spear and you did sell it, they're not gonna let that go.
They're gonna throttle you by your throat and then splatter you across the wall like they did with Odin.
And then they go get the spear back.
That could launch an entire game in and of itself. It's an all get a Fenris game where you gotta figure out where did that spear that Ravnos stole go off to.
So where is the second spear? You said there were two in existence.
Yeah, one is at the reclaimed Heimhala. The other one, I can only assume it's in one of their bases in Scandinavia.
I gotcha.
I gotta remind myself where the major cairns are. The specific, like the name cairns have always been the least interesting thing about World of Darkness to me, but there's probably a major cairn that the Gethymers that are kept in.
Oh, they own both spears.
Yeah,
I got you.
and both those spears might as well be instant kill weapons with how much damage they deal.
Hmm.
Now compare this, thinking one more time about how we could pair these two up. And I'm thinking, you remember the Ravnos have the treatment, where if they really hate a Camarilla prince or a Sabbat archbishop, they will cause veil breaching, masquerade breaching chaos just to humiliate that prince and archbishop.
Yeah.
Have the treatment come for the Fenris. The Ravnos tip off the Fenris that, hey, that dude right there, that's a vampire. Go kill it. And then the Fenris barge into your town, start purging your vampires after they collect a list of names. And behold, the amount of sweat that would be pouring down that prince's forehead.
Jesus.
That's how you collapse a town overnight.
Literally. These
And
two
then,
together could be a force to be reckoned with.
oh yeah, if they teamed up, that is a huge win for Gaia, where you're always going to have issues with the Worm and the Weaver, and to an extent the Wild, because the Wild can't really focus on anything and it's a purely neutral entity. If they did look into the past and taught that's what makes them so difficult to talk to them too, because the Silent Striders, you could have talked to their ancestors, but no, the Silent Striders don't have ancestors to talk to anymore. So there's no way to really validate the story. You just have to take the Ravnos at their word. But if you did manage to find out the truth about that, and I think the only way you could do that is if you talked to Cain or Ravnos himself. And the minute you figured out that they were kinfolk of the Wild, if these two teamed up, that is a huge win for Gaia. Just these two teaming up. Master infiltrators and thieves versus the best warriors on Earth. The amount of enemies that these two would steamroll if they worked together.
So we need a heist with a Ravnos, a Bonar? No.
Yeah.
Glasswalker.
Glassworker.
A Get Fenris, and why not a Fianna?
Let's see if you can infiltrate Pentex and steal all the files and all the
Yep.
money. And behold, Indrawn Oil and Macedon will collapse overnight.
Absolutely, they will.
Do we have any more ideas, or should we move on to the next matchup?
Let's see. They're not really hurting on money, either of them.
Yeah,
I mean, maybe Get a little bit.
Yeah, the Gaffiners just don't care about money. They just like pick up the weapons off their dead enemies and then use those.
Yeah.
I mean, I told you about like in the Amazon, Gogol Fangs first with his double belt minigun that he walks around the Amazon with.
Jesus.
He's having a great
I love
time in the
that so
Amazon.
much.
He's over here playing Doom in the jungle.
He's got "Welcome to the Jungle" by Guns N' Roses playing in the background.
Yeah, absolutely. That dude's a sociopath, and he knows, and he doesn't care.
No, I don't think I got anything else.
All right, going down the line. Stargazers versus Ventrue. All right. Now,
Stargazer. You
this is
might
a
have to
weird.
remind me on the Stargazers.
The Stargazers are the Chinese, Indian, Korean, Japanese werewolf who've all lost their fucking minds.
Okay.
Yeah, these guys just pretty much gave up after seeing Unit 731, the Great Leap Forward, and then the annexing of Tibet happen back to back to back within 100 years. And they say there is no hope for humanity, there is no hope for Gaia, and we're just going to find a way to try to escape all of this instead of actually trying to help fight against the worm anymore. And you've got guys like the Amagemen, who are the non-returners, who are going into the deep and dark Umbra to live, and they are never seen again once they hop into the portals that lead to the dark Umbra. Granted, they might survive down there. I mean, we don't know how powerful they are. And you've also got get this, Ryan, the Ouroborans, who are stargazers who take the worm itself as their totem.
The worm itself?
The
Jesus.
worm. The worm. Not even the black spirals do that. They take the worm.
I got some balls on them.
This is why the other tribes hate these guys, because that's a pretty bad look.
Yeah. Just a tad.
The thing about the Stargazers, why I paired them up with the Ventrue, lineage. The Stargazers,
Lineage?
you know who I'm talking about when I talk about Siddhartha Gautama, the Buddha?
Yeah.
Yeah, they have a werewolf version of it called Clytol. And he reincarnates, and he's like the Dalai Lama, where every time Clytol dies, a new Clytol is born within the clan shortly after, and he has all of Clytol's memories, and then it's pretty much like it is Clytol, but it's not, but it is, and they just follow his teachings. And meanwhile, the Ventrue. You remember the Ventrue, right? The Blue Bloods. The guys who
Yeah.
say it's our divine right to rule, because nobody else can rule the same way we can.
It's essentially noblesse.
You also look at the Ventrue.
Hierarchy.
Is that the extreme monarchy? They have a tradition within the Ventrue where, in order to show off just how Ventrue you are, you list off your entire lineage of who sired you, all the way up to the Ventrue antediluvian, to show just why you have the right to rule. If Mithras, if his name pops up in that lineage, that is extra respect points automatically put into that Venture's pocket just for being descendant from Mithras, one of the best Venture to ever live. So you have the lineage aspect, but you also have the new modern ideas where the Stargazers are so obsessed with learning that, the same as intellectuals, you keep trying to come up with new age sounding ideas. You eventually horseshoe right to insanity. Meanwhile, the Ventrue are actually coming up with some pretty good ideas. It's the Ventrue, they're the reason why the Masquerade has never been breached. Because the Ventrue are the most adaptable out of all the clans, because of just how deeply interconnected they are. But you've got Ventrue like Jan Piertezun, who might be my favorite vampire out of the entire World of Darkness canon, who says that if vampire society is going to continue in a healthy ecosystem, you need to wipe out any and all talk about Gehenna and the antediluvians. You can't have people obsessing over the idea of an apocalypse and expect to prosper. You need to assume that you're always going to look forward and ahead. And under his rule, any talk about Gehenna, Cain, or the antediluvians is automatically outlawed, and you are executed if you bring that up.
Even Kane? Like, it's
Yeah.
in
Like, if you work
Just
for Jan, you can't bring that up. You will be
maybe he had
killed
some
under his rule if he catches you talking about that.
trying to figure out why.
I mean, it's pretty clear that the Antediluvians do exist. So there are
Yeah.
two different tribes that come up with good ideas that tend to either work very well or backfire horribly. I'll think about this too. They are both martial adepts too, because the Ventru have fortitude, and you know what fortitude does. It
Yeah.
pretty much gives you an extra soak die or just an automatic point of armor. Meanwhile, the Stargazers are all about kung fu and karate. Imagine the fights you could have between the two, where the Stargazers dodge everything that the Ventru send at them, but the Ventru survive everything that the Stargazers punch them with.
It's the battle between fuck. I gotta go look at the list again.
Black Furies and Nosferatu.
Yeah, Black Furies and Nosferatu. It's
And
just boom, 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 all at once.
at the same time, the Stargazers and the Ventru tend to respect their enemies. Where who's to say that in the middle of that fight, the two will eventually reach an understanding through violence, that kind of trope. And then they might bond, stop fighting after realizing that it's not getting anywhere, and just talk it out instead.
I think the fuck
Who?
the Stargazers will
Yeah.
have the advantage here
Uh-huh.
because they have technique over just being able to tank something.
There is one ace up the Ventru sleeve, Dominate, where upon saying a phrase, as it turns out, you don't
Yes.
need to spend a blood point or a willpower point for this. You can just set this off whenever.
Yeah.
And they can give you a Manchurian candidate code phrase that you will forget they told you it, where it programs you, if you fail that willpower roll, as to what you will do over the course of the next year.
Yeah, I forgot about Dominate. Dominate's really good, and I didn't realize how well it would work on mortals, and I didn't realize werewolves were mortals until I was using my abilities as Sylvester in our vampire game on them.
On the
Because
werewolves, and
yeah,
you figured out,
like
yeah, they can be dominated.
80% of those skills, those the disciplines, are like, oh, this automatically succeeds on mortals, and I'm like, what?
It's that in a very talky game, the Ventru do very well. Very
Yeah,
well. So,
I didn't realize they had that as an option, so
but
I
with all the
definitely,
meditation that the Stargazers do, though, they could have the mental fortitude to resist it. It's a coin toss at that rate.
yeah, absolutely. It's
So,
it's back to that 50-50.
yeah, you can't defeat the Ventru in a fist fight. They're surviving your claw attacks. So you try talking to them. And that is going to be a very dangerous fight where ultimately these two end up walking away from each other, where either one wins and makes a lot of progress, or neither of them get anywhere. It's a little fun, heads hitting the brick wall kind of deal. You also have their mutual hatred for the Kuei Jin. Not to forget about that. The Ventru Anti-Tribu consider themselves to be Knights Templar, where they are fighting a holy war for Cain, and they would love to fight the Kuei Jin. That is a possible means these two could cooperate for their mutual hatred of the Kuei Jin. But unlike the Gea Fenris and the Ravnos, these two wouldn't stay friends after the fighting is done.
Yeah, they would. I wouldn't say they would be enemies, but they'd go their separate ways and just be like, hey,
The Stargazers would go and pray in their temples. The Ventru would go on to build their fifth company.
yeah,
You can't reason with a millionaire. Alright. Do you have anything else or next pairing?
No, I can't think of anything else.
Yeah. This was one of like the tougher matchups too, because this was, I think, like the second to last matchup that I made.
Yeah.
For Star Renown tribes, and I wasn't going to go obscure like Clan Gargoyle or Clan Lamia. Who's next? Atena versus Tremere.
Atena versus Tremere.
Witches.
You might have to refresh my memory on these guys.
You were absent for the Atena episode, right?
I think so.
Right, so this is a multicultural global force. They start off as Native Americans, but now they're everywhere. They start in Polynesia, moved to Australia, moved to Indonesia, moved to Japan, moved to China, moved to India, moved to Africa. And then everywhere, including a few places within Europe and North America, these guys are everywhere and have a massive information network. And they have solutions to fighting and solving the apocalypse. The only issue with the Actina is that it's going to come at a massive loss of life if the Actina plans go off the way they currently have them planned. And meanwhile, the Tremere, where these are the biggest snake in the grass vampires you could think of. The Tremere were wizards with the Order of Hermes, the hermetic mages who drew circles. You see their logo, the square, the circle, and then the triangle. That's now a chemical symbol. It is a.
It's now a chemical symbol.
Yeah. The icon is the alchemical symbol. It's the squared circle. It's the making the impossible possible. That's what that symbol is supposed to mean.
Interesting.
And the thing is with the Tremere is that they wanted to live forever with their arch magic by becoming vampires. They became pseudo-vampires after eating Zimichi. They managed to do that. And then after Zimichi started coming after them, they found Salat in torpor, consumed his flesh, drank his blood, and then Tremere fell into a torpor as Salat fought him for control of his body. Meanwhile, all of his other coterie of mages became vampires, but then immediately lost their archmagic afterwards, and it was all for nothing. But the Tremere still are incredibly powerful. I mean, these are vampires who cast sorcery using blood instead of a foci or any sort of study. So they're an atom bomb, in terms of analogy. But so are the Actina, because they're talking to the dream speakers, the spirit mages, that make it easier for them to step sideways or just get rid of the gauntlet altogether and then let them pass right through into the Umbra through a portal, along with teaching them a whole bunch of other different magic. So you've got spellcasting vampires versus spellcasting werewolves with this pair up.
Jesus.
You know what's the really fun part about this too is
nuclear warfare.
Absolutely. They don't even need to be in the same room with each other to fight each other. The Tremere love locking themselves within their chantries and making spell circles that will hex and curse somebody and will cause them to have a heart attack while they're 2,000 miles away. Or the Actina can just summon a storm, a hurricane that will smite your entire chantry off the face of the earth. One thunderstorm. Neither of them have to leave home to fight this war.
Right? They can do it from the comfort of their own house.
And the other thing about them too, they both know about the worm, and they hate the worm in equal measure. The Tremere were from the Order of Hermes, who made it a mission to overcome the worm and become as god, and defeat the worm face to face in a magical war. While the Actina, of course, follow Great Actina, who was a wormish totem who split himself from the worm to strike it out better and bigger than he ever could under the worm. These guys have a mutual hatred for the same ultimate enemy. But the thing is, there is no way you could get these two to work together. The Tremere are known as the snakes. the worst kind of people within vampire society. There is no way you could get them to work with anybody. Not even other Tremere like the Tremere. But meanwhile, the Actina are one of the closest knit communities you can find, dude. The Actina love each other. I mean, that's a big, happy, multicultural family with the Actina. You got any
Yeah.
ideas, Foreman Ryan?
Let's see. Ventru versus no, not Ventru. Fuck, I
Tremere.
just had it. Tremere.
Tremere, it's the French. They
I
originate
can't
from La
think of
France.
anything.
Well, I know another thing. Uh, Something we can fall back on. World War II.
Oh yeah.
You remember that the Nazis didn't like anyone who had black or brown skin,
Yep.
and the Tremere, they were the Fool Society. They were the guys who were funding the Nazis with their magical artifacts.
Too
And the
many
Nazis,
vampires funding Nazis.
oh yeah, there were a ton of anti-Semites amongst the vampires. The Tremere like explicitly hate Jews. That's something the Tremere absolutely hate. So behold, you have Mr. Ethnic Cleansing fighting the magical werewolves.
Oh, ignore ignore that.
Yeah, it's a fight that's going to get very ugly very quickly.
Oh yeah, absolutely it is.
On top of that, the Actina aren't so different because what's one of the ultimate goals of the Actina? White genocide. They want to live in a world where all white people are either dead or subjugated and forcibly made into third-class white minorities, just for revenge of losing the Pure Lands to the conquistadors in the British Empire.
It'd be a different type of world war, or
Yeah,
at least a war in general.
yeah. But the Actina are being subtle about it because they're waiting for all the different nations that are majority white to slowly die out and collapse. And meanwhile, they're gonna slowly come in and take over in terms of culture and values. And that's how they're going to win the war. Meanwhile, the Tremere just want a genocide. Not so different, you and I.
Right?
Yeah, so you pretty much have to decide who's the lesser of two evils here. Both of these guys could body the other, but it ultimately depends on who is going to land the killing blow first.
Who do you think would be the one to land the killing blow?
With all this different stuff that the Actina know about, and the Actina have multiple forms of magic they can use, not just thaumaturgy, which is pretty far wedged into the forces correspondence and matter spheres of magic. Meanwhile, the Actina are dabbling into time, spirit, crime. Looking at Mage the Ascension, the Actina have it. I'm pretty sure the Actina have it, but there's still that 25% chance that Tremere could win. Because Mage the Ascension is a game where dealing damage isn't the worst thing that can happen to you. It's like
Yeah.
Ryan, in terms of D&D, what spell would you want to be hit by the least? Would you want rather be hit by Delay Blast Fireball or Force Cage?
For a force cage, please.
That's, you sure want to do Force Cage because you can't step out of that.
That's fine. I'd
Yeah.
rather not die.
You can at least survive the Delay Blast Fireball. If you're a rogue, absolutely. Do you have anything else to say about the Octana and Tremere, or are we ready to move on?
I think we can move on. I don't have anything. I'm not gonna lie to you. I don't know much about at least the vampire clans, and I did miss out on the
Uh,
antenna.
uh, at least the vampire clans that we didn't focus on in our vampire game.
Yeah.
Well, here's one that you know. Already flashed this one on the screen. Silent Striders versus Malkavians.
Oh.
Just the excitement deflates the bit we bring on the Malkavians.
There's a hatred in my heart for the Malkavians.
Okay,
One particular one.
who's the biggest and baddest of them all?
Malkath.
But you haven't met the Anku yet, have you? The Malkavians have their own version of Freddy Krueger, who is this extremely powerful Methuselah Malkavian who invades the dreams of other vampires. But when you wake up, he's still there. And there's nothing you can do to escape him once that happens.
Um, this is a. Can you remind me on the Silent Shredders again?
They are the Egyptian wandering nomads. They were nomads by choice until they got forcibly banned from Egypt after the followers of Set and Set cursed them to never be able to step foot in Egypt and rest and regain Gnosis.
Okay.
And they're the messengers too. But there's something in particular with the Silent Shredders. They have camps where they hunt and kill vampires. I mean, after all, these guys have been scorned by two different clans. Clan Ravnos first, Clan Setite the second. If you look at World War II, Clan Shamir. So these guys...
Both ends of the spectrum there.
Yeah, they have a passionate hatred for vampires.
If I would say if anyone could get rid of Malkath, it'd probably be the Silent Shredders, right?
It could be, but you remember... I talked with Kyle about this. There is a Silent Shredder gift called Damn the Heart Flood, which prevents a vampire from being able to use blood points. The catch is, with the Malkavians, none of their powers require blood points. Demontation, obfuscate, presence, they can just activate us with the sound of their voice.
Yeah. I forgot about demontation.
Yeah, so you gotta be absolutely sure that that blow is going to kill that Malkavian, because if you mess up, that Malkavian just needs to open his mouth and say something, and that hit job is over.
Yeah.
That's gonna be a tight matchup too. On top of that, no, they don't have presence, they have Auspex. That's what I'm thinking of. Auspex. And Auspex is on constantly. With that Auspex, the Malkavians are able to see and hear the past, present, and future all at the same time. They will know if a Silent Shredder is coming. Fun time hunting the Malkavians.
That's how that's how the Ministry knew we were coming.
Absolutely. Because the Malkavians... you can't sneak up on these guys. These guys are... Ventrue would love to tell you that they are the ones carrying the entire Camarilla. No, it's the Malkavians. The Malkavians, because they just know everything. Knowledge is just that deadly of a weapon in the world of darkness.
Knowledge is power. Power corrupts.
Now, the reason. Why did I pair these two up? Well, first of all, I think the Malkavians are one of the few clans that could survive an attack from a Silent Shredder. If you all know what other clan I'm thinking of, honestly, I think Clan Toreador would also have a good matchup against the Silent Shredders, just because of how good Presence is as a discipline. But looking at the Silent Shredders and the Malkavians, they are both haunted. The Silent Shredders are constantly harassed by wraiths, the hungry dead, and the restless dead, who are constantly coming after them, either to harass them or ask them for help with all of their problems that they couldn't solve in life. Meanwhile, the Malkavians are schizophrenic, along with another serious, inheritable, incurable mental illness like dementia or Creutzfeldt-Jakob's disease or any sort of psychosis that just never stops. That's no fun at all if you have mental illness that bad and there's nothing you can do about it. Where the Malkavians are constantly seeing and hearing stuff that isn't real. And it is so hard to be a Malkavian because you don't know if that voice is real or not, and you just have to keep your fingers crossed with your Auspex that that thing is real that's coming after you. Both these guys are pretty tortured at the end of the day.
It's yeah, you're not wrong saying it's a tight matchup.
Absolutely.
There's no saying who's gonna win there.
There is a way that the Sunstriders can pull a victory if they start directly working with the wraiths who are pursuing them. You can reason with the wraith. You can't reason with your schizophrenic hallucinations.
Yeah, I mean, a good example is what Chico right now.
Oh yeah, because he's talking with the cats. And
Yeah,
he's asking the cats for information, and we don't know whether or not the cats are being truthful or not.
and the fact that they're a hallucination means that they're giving information based on what he knows.
Yes. So he's got his own little database following him around, but he has to decide whether or not that's useful information he's hearing.
Yeah,
Meanwhile, a ghost. Some of these ghosts have been around for thousands of years, dog. Like, the Skeletal Lord, who, the leader of the Skeletal Legion of Stygia. Or that is a guy that's been around forever, like as long as Karen, the Emperor of Stygia, has been alive. The sheer amount of information you can also get from talking to a wraith matches the information that you could learn from a Malkavian. But on top of that, there are Orkanoi, that their version of disciplines and gifts that the wraiths can learn. I'm thinking of three in particular. I'm thinking of Embody, Flux, and uh, Puppetry. That could mess up a Malkavian. Flux, in particular, that causes whatever a wraith touches or points at to decay. So you could kill a Malkavian without him ever knowing it. Without him ever finding out what exactly is killing him. And of course, because it's a ghost, you can disguise the ghost as one of his visions. So
that's kind of neat, to be fair.
this is a matchup where it is tight if you go head on with it. But the
Yeah,
more you think tactically with the Silent Striders, eventually they will pull a victory over the Malkavians. Here's the funny thing. One of the Malkavians have information that the Silent Striders need. You have the Dispossessed, and you have the Harbingers, and you have the Seekers who are trying to figure out where we're going to stop a home, how can we stop the apocalypse, how can we reclaim Egypt. Why do the Malkavians know all that? Malkavians just know stuff. So you might want to keep that Malkavian alive so he can help you figure this stuff out. Or alternatively, there is a secret camp of Silent Shredders called the Eater of Brains. Um, I think I might have that wrong too. I think it's called the Corpse Eaters. It's the Eater of Brains. It's like eat something dead, where they will eat the brains of victims. And by doing a ritual where they eat the brain, they will learn what that victim that they just ate knew. But there's a high chance that you will inherit the Malkavian schizophrenia and other mental illnesses if you do that. That's going to put you. That'll put your Sanshard character in a difficult position. Do you want to live the rest of your life in absolute misery so your clan can try to reclaim Egypt?
that's I mean, they can't set foot into Egypt, right?
They can walk into Egypt, but there's ghosts everywhere, and they can't regain any gnosis while in Egypt.
Hmm.
Let me tell you what's especially dangerous about that gnosis thing. If a werewolf gets sired by a vampire, they become an abomination. The minute they lose all their temporary gnosis, they lose their minds with it and become feral beasts. So that is a great way to kill a Silent Strider. Get them in Egypt, embrace them, wait for their gnosis to run out, and then behold, you now have a rabid dog that you can demontate and dominate to do whatever you want.
I mean, they could both keep each other hostage. I can see the Silent Striders No, not the Silent Striders. I'm forgetting their name again.
Who? What they do? Who are they? Setites?
No,
Werewolf or vampire?
Werewolf.
Yeah.
The one that we're talking about.
The one of previous one, the antenna.
Yeah, the antenna. Yeah, I can see the
Yeah,
antenna taking the Malcavs for their futuristic ability, and I can see the Malcavs, not Malcavs, Malkavians,
you're not
uh,
wrong.
uh, turning them into rabid uh, hounds, essentially.
That is, this is a dangerous matchup, all said and done. But eventually, you will get werewolf victory. Do you have any other ideas, or should we move on?
I have no other ideas.
All right. Next matchup. This one's a twofer. Okay. Red Talons versus the Giovanni and/or Cappadocians.
And or Cappadocians.
The reason why I put two clans here is because these guys are essentially the same. I mean, the Giovanni came from the Cappadocians, and they have pretty similar values, all said and done. You remember the Red Talons, right?
Vaguely.
Kill all humans.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. I
Now
mean, they
yes,
work together hand in hand, don't they?
um, the Red Talons with who?
Giovanni.
Giovanni.
Red.
Oh, you're thinking of the Glasswalkers with the Giovanni.
Am I?
Yeah, because
Well, I thought
you remember
Giovanni were the people who created the zombies.
yeah, exactly that. Where
Yeah.
I guess if it is a zombie, I guess the human is dead.
Yeah. So the Red Talons kill the humans, sell the corpse to the Giovanni, and boom, fresh zombies to sell. I got
All right,
this
there we go.
huge business proposal.
I wasn't thinking about that at all. Well, that's the
Everybody
only issue
makes
is that
money.
that's the only issue is that wolves don't have money in nature.
Yeah, it's true. It's bad. It's very,
Uh,
very true.
yeah. When is the last time you ever seen a wolf walk in with some dollar bills or some gold
Oh,
and buy something?
they don't even need the money. They can just deal in spirits.
They can just kill you and take everything you have.
Yeah, the Reltellens gives the corpse up to the Giovanni. Giovanni hooks him up with some spirits. It's gifts and fetishes galore.
And then the Red Talons turn on the Giovanni and kill them, and then take the bodies back anyway.
Yeah.
Now, do you remember the Cappadocians?
No, I can't say that I do.
That's who the Giovanni used to be before the
Yeah.
leadership change. The Cappadocians were. There is a condition I looked up in Mage the Ascension called Jhor, Jhor, where that is an obsession with death or bloodlust. That's what the Cappadocians had. They
Okay.
were vampires who, because of their necromancy, became absolutely obsessed with the concept of death to the point where that's all they could carry a conversation about. And they had this belief that God put them on the earth to be these angels of death that went around and punished the wicked and turned the wicked into zombies as a form of eternal punishment. Do you
Interesting.
think that lines up with the Red Talon's values too?
Uh, yeah, kind
After
of.
all, the Red Talons also see themselves as harbingers of the apocalypse. They're put on on Earth by Gaia to purge humans.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, yeah, genociders of a feather. But the Cappadocians would eventually be wiped out by Augustus Giovanni, who, mastermind that he was, usurped the entire clan, diablerized Cappadocius, the antediluvian, and then genocided the entirety of the clan that didn't side with him, and rebranded the entire clan as the Giovanni family. The Big Damn Mafia.
These vampires need to stop naming their clans after themselves.
I mean, the Giovanni is so on the nose, too, isn't it?
Yeah.
And the Giovanni paint such a big target on themselves because you know a Giovanni when you see one. I mean, they only ever embrace Italians, but they're driving around in their Maseratis and Mercedes. They've got tons of money. They go around. They only eat Italian food. Um, they all talk the same kind of way. Um, where from a New York Italian perspective, is it marinara sauce or marinade sauce?
Marinara. That's how I've always said it.
Yeah, they're gonna put some marinade on a sandwich. That's a fucking Giovanni.
It's not. It's neither. It's marinade.
So you know a Giovanni when you see one. Even when if you have no knowledge of vampires, you can tell it's a Giovanni because of how much money that person will have. Back when the Giovanni were around the 90s, before Gotti was arrested, the Giovanni had all the money. They were the richest out of all the vampire clans. That honor now belongs to Clan Ventru, but the Giovanni were freaking rich back in the day. And then the Giovanni Chronicles happened, and then Y2K happened, and then the Cappadocians rebranded themselves as the Harbingers of Skulls, and returned, and had a civil war with the Giovanni that almost completely wiped out the clans until they realized they had to combine together into one big Giovanni clan if they were to continue existing, because everyone else was licking their chops waiting to kill them. So that's another connection right there. The Giovanni are on the verge of another collapse. They have lost a ton of stuff. Their money's gone, their zombies are gone, their stockpiled souls are gone. They're working from square one all over again. And Augustus Giovanni is nowhere to be found. He's in hiding. You compare that with the Red Talons, who have lost all their land and all of their friends. All their friends just exist as spirits now. Griffin used to be an animal until it was hunted to extinction. And Griffin's command to the Red Talons is, kill all humans in my name to avenge me and my species. You've got two groups who have got nothing left to lose fighting each other with this matchup.
There's going to be some major casualties in that war.
Absolutely, because you got the Giovanni who can just do human wave tactics. I played as a Giovanni in a werewolf game. No, not werewolf, in a vampire game. And siring zombies, pretty easy. You just need to walk up to a dead body. You don't even have to be the one that killed it. Just drop your blood in its mouth, and boom, it pops right back up and it turns as a zombie. And that zombie has 10 levels of health and soak dice. And it can just walk right into battle for you. And if you make enough zombies, you will have a wave of bodies where your enemy just can't get to you. And you just sit up off to the side with a bow and arrow or a gun and just shoot them off in the distance, and that's how you win your fights as a Giovanni. Meanwhile, the Red Talons are so unbelievably aggressive that they could tear through the entirety of the zombies. So it's a question. Can the Giovanni sire enough zombies to keep the Red Talons at bay? It's like what am I thinking of? I was reading Angron, Slave of Nuceria, and there's a scene in that book where the Warhounds, this faction of Marines, has to take over an entire planet within 31 hours if they want to meet their commander's orders. The issue is that they're fighting robots who are building more of themselves. Where every robot you kill, there's another one fresh off the assembly line to replace it.
It's an Ultron scenario.
Exactly. You keep fighting guys as long as the Giovanni have people around them. They have bodies to throw at the Red Talons.
And there's never a shortage of corpses on this Earth.
And to show you just how difficult that fight is going to be, our Halloween special, a Poot was a Wendigo, who was fighting a zombie. That zombie took 6 turns to put down. That's the kind of meat shield you're putting up with the Giovanni. And here's the question. How do you fight these guys? Well, you gotta get the drop on them. I mean, it's pretty obvious how you pick your targets with the Giovanni. They make it so obvious that they're part of the Mafia, that the Red Talons, who are masters at stalking and hunting, need to get a drop on the Giovanni in order to kill them. You can't win this fight head on. You have to sneak up on the Giovanni to kill them. So it's funny. The Red Talons are going to have to start thinking like humans and setting up organized hits if they are going to fight the Giovanni. It's Ultimate Testament, the crucible for the tribe too, is thinking like humans and using human tactics, spitting in the face of the values of the Red Talons, if you do that. And then after all, you also have the Cappadocians where, behold, you have 2 Angels of Death, slug it out. The story will write itself with that matchup.
Absolutely will.
Do you have any ideas with this pairing?
See. Gotta pull up the list again.
The Red Dons and Giovanni.
No, I can't say that I do.
Right. And think about this too. Well, what about the Samedi or the Nagaraja or the Harbingers of Skulls? Well, the Harbingers of Skulls, that's essentially the same story as the Giovanni, it's just that the Harbingers are a little vengeful. But here's the thing, Ryan. You could make a bargain with the Harbingers. They, before the clans merge, wanted to get revenge on the Giovanni for destroying the Cappadocians. So you could have a Red Talon, or if it is the rare, self-aware Red Talon, could swallow their pride, talk to the Harbinger, and then gain intel on how to fight the Giovanni with that Harbinger, and possibly make an alliance with them. And behold, the best way to fight the Giovanni, send more Giovanni after them. It's the best weapon you've got against the Giovanni is themselves.
Yeah. Buy all their corpses and then use it against them.
After all, you
Could
just
that
need to
work?
yeah, you destroy the body. Yeah, you can just recycle the zombie as long as the body's still together.
So the Giovanni don't have full control once they sign over the control to someone else. They won't have control over them anymore.
Yeah, the minute that zombie dies the second time, the same Giovanni can walk over and revive the zombie, or another vampire with Mortis or Necromancy can do the exact same thing.
Huh. Interesting.
So you could turn the tide of battle if there's a 1% chance that could happen if they teamed up with the Harbingers of Skulls in that scenario. That game also needs to take place before 2016.
That makes
And
sense.
also the Samedi, the Haitian zombie vampire. It's a fun time, right? The Samedi aren't going to care if a Red Talon kills them, because behold, they get to go off into the afterlife and party with Baron Saturday forever. After all, there's nothing to fear in death. I mean, they've already died. It's just the same as what they were already doing. So, big deal. Come and get me, Red Talon. I don't care anymore.
They say
And
that.
the Nagaraja. There has been the occasional Red Talon who has lost control of themselves and has eaten a dead body. Compare that to the Nagaraja, who eat the soul and the body at the same time. You want to talk about the Slayers of Men? The Nagaraja are up there are some of the best. You have what is the most vicious werewolf clan fighting the most vicious out of all the vampires with the Nagaraja. If you want to know how nasty they are, I think he goes a little too far into detail with it, but Matthew Dawkins' video on the Nagaraja, that puts the point across as just how sick the Nagaraja are as a clan. To get to your mind, Ryan, all the stuff we said about the Setites,
Yep.
Instead of it being sex, imagine it being gore and torture.
Uh,
After all, the Red Towns love torturing too. They have the dying cubs, where you torture a man over the course of 2 weeks, spill his blood, and it purges the land of the worm.
I find it hard to believe that it actually purges the land of the worm.
It purges the land of the worm, but no Gaian spirits return to the land because that land is tainted by the blood of a tortured human.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, I call the wild to occupy that land in that case, and then the wild makes weird shit happen in that land.
In that case, is that just the desert?
It could be. We have no more ideas with these guys. We can move on.
All right.
Also, it's I swear I did not put my favorite werewolf clan and my favorite vampire clan together on purpose. It just wound up that way.
Let me guess. It's the Silverfangs and Bali.
No, I was talking about the Red Towns and the Giovanni, but let's see what's next.
I see. I see.
We're not there yet. It's the Surfangs and the Salubri at the moment.
Salubri.
I had a change of heart like an hour before we record this episode, and I paired them up with Salubri. And I feel like I need to find our picture of the Bali in order to like set up some context for this. Let me put these two together. So why did I pair
send that
these?
to me as well?
Yeah, the Bali. You remember the Silverfangs and just how psychopathic the Silverfangs are.
Yeah, they're something else.
Now look at the Bali symbol. That is a Baphomet star. What do you think the Bali are about?
Baphomet? Satanism?
Demons.
Yeah.
Exactly that. Where their leaders are Nurgle, Moloch, and Shaitan, who are the three worst people in Vampire the Masquerade. If you want to talk about evil, you look at the stuff that Nurgle was doing. That guy was making plagues for fun, and then was wiping out entire tribes and prospering nations of people just for the hell of it.
It's wild.
And yeah, you've got guys who have no issue killing civilians next to the Surfangs, who also have no problem with killing civilians and will kill their own tribesmen if they get in their way. After all, we saw them kill the children of Gaia in Russia just because the Russian Revolution ended in a way that the Silverfangs did not like.
That's, I don't know, baffling, I guess.
The reason I also put these two together is because they are so incredibly strong mechanically. You looked at the Surfang gifts. You saw the Secret of Death, the Secret of Gaia, those extreme, like, high-level auspice skills combined with their tribe, and just all the stuff that the Surfangs could do.
Yeah.
You compare that with Daimonium, where, let me tell you what Conflagrate does again. You spend how many ever blood points you want to on that ability, you hurl a ball of black fire, or if that lands on a target, it will stick to their body and burn them for a amount of aggravated damage according to how many blood points you attached to that fireball. You can't remove that fireball once it attaches itself to you.
Talk about a delayed fireball.
Yeah,
That's just
that
an
ability,
explosion waiting to happen.
yeah, that will kill you at some point of the game if a Bali lands that attack on you. There's no
Yeah.
surviving that.
Not even close.
And you remember, we'll talk about manga a little bit. Fire Punch.
Fire punch? I can't say that I do.
It's the manga where the main character's ability is regeneration, and a wizard shot him with a fireball that causes his entire body to catch fire, but he regenerates just as quickly as the fire burns him, so he just walks around constantly on fire for the entire story. I'm thinking that's got me thinking like a Bali who uses that on a drone, who's constantly regenerating thanks to the power of the Weaver. Well, make Fire Punch and World of Darkness. That's how you do it.
Sure. Yeah.
Now, why did I pair these two together? It's because both of these groups are screwed. We talked about just how mentally degraded the Surfangs are, where thanks to years of incest and years of unhealthy breeding and years of burning your bridges down, there is no saving the Surfangs. The old age, dying of old age, happens at 35 with the Surfangs. And compare that to the Bali, who they wanted to summon demons, summon demons, summon demons. They did it, and then realized what a massive mistake that was. Now they're trying to do everything they can to appease the demons that they've summoned before they destroy the world. But also, both of these groups had heroes in them, who were out for Gaia's heart. We of course talked about the Silverfang lore, the original Silverfang, who managed to fight the Calamity Worm, chased the Calamity Worm off, and then got revived as his reward for defending Gaia. And we've brought his name up several times. Huitzilopochtli was a Baali who used demons in order to fight back the forces of the worm in South America. And thanks to him, the Uktena were able to help build the Pure Lands. So behold, two of the best heroes in World of Darkness both originated from these terrible, terrible, terrible people. Do you have any other thoughts about this matchup, or should we move on to the Salubri version?
We can move on to the Salubri version.
Out of Salubri, a lot of people refer to Salubri as the cinnamon rolls of the werewolves. No, not werewolves, vampires. The Salubri wanted to genuinely help people. That was the common consensus amongst the Salubri. Because they had Valorant, which was a soul-affecting ability, where they were able to heal people by touching them. It took blood points to use, so you had to give blood to give it you had to take blood to give blood. But thanks to the Salubri, a lot of people were living longer than they were supposed to, and were surviving wounds that should have killed them. Why do I think the Salubri are a good fit for this? You know who made the Bali? Solot, a Salubri antediluvian.
Oh, so that's why you were doing it with the two separate ones, because much like the Giovanni, they were essentially at 1.1 in the same.
Exactly, and Solot is either the vampire Jesus or the vampire Lucifer, depending on the writer. It is amazing that this guy was Cain's favorite after Ravnos went off to fight his holy war. Cain spent a lot of time around Solot. But you notice that all the praise from the Salubri come from Salubri sources. Whenever any other clan talks about them, they have nothing but bad things to say about the Salubri. And for a series that runs off of unreliable narrator, who's telling the truth here? Are these good guy vampires? Or are the sinister vampires possibly the most evil out of all of the vampires, who have disguised themselves as angels and have tricked everyone into thinking that they were heroes that didn't deserve their deaths? Something like the Seraphins are doing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, believe us, other tribesmen, we're the good guys. Don't look at all of our past deeds and our past crimes and all of our dirty laundry. Just don't think, just believe everything we tell you. The thing is, the Slippery were genocided by the Tremere for the accusation that they stole souls. That's true, because Solot himself had that ability. He was able to rip a soul out of a human body and then just absorb it into himself. And the fun thing about Solot, he's alive. When the Wicked Nightmares ended, the Ravnos Antediluvian did the thing, he woke up, reclaimed his body from Tremere, and then crawled his way over to Transylvania, where he found a castle where he now reigns, and is slowly rebuilding his clan to eventually take revenge against the Tremere and the Camarilla as a collective. Now the thing is, we have the Surfangs, who are very clearly bad people who lie about being heroes. And then you have the Salubri, where it's like Schrodinger's villain. Are they good guys or are they bad guys? And it's ultimately up to you, your perspective. And they're both groups that are screwed because, to put it into perspective as to how few Salubri there are 8 of them in North America. That's it. Do you have any ideas, Ryan?
Uh, I'm not gonna lie to you. I don't know much about the sleep. So Jesus, I
Salubri.
can't even say it. Celebri. There we go. So I can't say that I do.
Well, it sounds like we need to do a Salubri episode in December.
Yeah.
Let's do it. Put it on the schedule. We're doing it.
And if
All right.
just gonna say, if this video gets more than 10 likes, I'll try and convince John to do a Naga episode.
All right. Let's do Children of Gaia versus La Sombra.
Oh,
Now you remember
if
the La Sombra, right?
I'm not gonna lie, vaguely. It's been a while.
You remember
I do know they
Hieronima
do some shit. Yeah.
Bisegio and Ruslan Nexmov are both La Sombra.
Yeah,
And
they've
you
got
saw this how deadly that was.
obfuscate. Um,
Uh
they deal with shadows and shit, right?
yeah, Obtenebration. Yeah,
Yeah.
that is the best discipline in the game mechanically. Dude, it's the night. You're a vampire. You're always going to have a shadow to use. I bring it to the Children of
Absolutely.
Gaia, who are little cinnamon rolls. Of course, they want to make you think that. But you have the groups like the Patient Deed and the Imminent Strike, who are militants who refer to themselves as Anointed Ones, who are going out, having these massive wars where they will only instigate wars with those they deem as truly evil. Meanwhile, the La Sombra, you remember the Crusades? That was them. That was their idea.
Oh, what what is up with vampires and wars?
That's what they love doing. You just gotta go to war. That's the moral of the World of Darkness. You just gotta go to war.
They're all get at heart.
Yeah. Yeah, if it's just the one true faction. Now, the thing is, both these guys see themselves as holy warriors. The patron saint of the Children of Gaia being Unicorn, or Black Unicorn if you're the Anointed Ones, the Patient Deed, or the Imminent Strike. And the La Sombra see themselves as their own saints. After all, they have a very similar mentality to the Cappadocians, where they believe that they're put on this earth to be the force of the rapture. They're not here to punish the wicked. They're here to end the world. That's what they want to do. And the faction that nobody really can explain what they do, to Telma Hey Ra, that's them. They want an apocalypse by the La Sombra antediluvian. That's how they want the world to end, and are trying to do everything they can to ensure that the world ends by the hand of the La Sombra antediluvian. I think we're seeing how this chronicle is going to play out with these two fighting each other.
Yeah.
Left cult versus death cult.
Yeah. Which cult is stronger?
You also have their obsession with control, because the Children of Gaia have perfected the art of canceling somebody, where the Children of Gaia tried doing that to the Gaia Fenris and almost succeeded. And they now just go around and say, hey, Indron is bad. Hey, this guy's bad. That's the bad guy. Stop being around the bad guy. And they'll ruin somebody by doing that. Meanwhile, the Sombra, for a while, they did control the world through the Catholic Church. This was before the Order of Reason took off. And while there was a Holy Roman Empire, they controlled the world. They had a taste of world domination in their mouths. And they really want to have that chance to rule the world back in their hands, so they can subjugate all of humanity all over again. Control freak versus control freak. I also mentioned mechanically. You notice that the Children of Gaia gifts tend to be a little overpowered because Jam Weapon is a first level gift where that just shuts down any gun for one turn. And then you compare that to just how strong Obtenebration is throughout the gate.
Yeah,
You have some fun matchups with these two.
you could. Yeah.
Now, why did I also put them on here? They both have connections with major Catholic factions within the World of Darkness. The Children of Gaia have their legend where they talked to Gilgamesh of the Epic of Gilgamesh. They convinced him to reject the offer of becoming a vampire through their contacts with I'm forgetting the name of the woman, but they sent an agent to talk to Gilgamesh to get him to turn the deal down. And Gilgamesh then went on to form the Celestial Chorus, the mages who believe in God. Meanwhile, the Lasombra ended up breaching the masquerade, killing one Saint Leopold, inspiring a group of angry Catholics to form the hunter organization known as the Church of Saint Leopold, thus leading to the Inquisition, thus leading to their own loss, as the humans they tried to subjugate turned against them and overthrew them. Two very different stories here, dude.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So you actually do have a lot of Children of Gaia. You'd think these guys would be such atheists. No, a lot of them believe in God. A lot of them are Jewish or Christian or Muslim. Meanwhile, the Lasombra, they know God exists, and there are, like, it's 50-50 with the Lasombra. Half of them are Christian Catholics who do believe in God and pray that God will save their souls after they die. But that's not the case with a vampire. They don't go to heaven or hell after death. At least not till Gehenna. But the other half know God exists and do what they do specifically because God exists. Where they believe if God didn't want you to live, if God wanted you to live, He wouldn't have made me. Or they just ignore God's laws entirely and just do whatever they want as complete monsters.
Yeah.
Do you have any ideas for this, Para?
No. I I I'm very uneducated when it comes to the vampire clans.
We'll,
So
we'll, we'll think about for a second. Ruslan Maximov.
yeah,
Do you think he could take the Children of Gaia?
as he is now or just in general?
As in
As he
general.
was. Okay. Probably.
Because I'm gonna say it's about like a 6-to-1 ratio. With Children of Gaia versus La Sombra, like every one La Sombra can take a pack of 6 Children of Gaia.
Interesting.
Granted, the Children of Gaia are the most numerous of all the tribes, so you
Yeah.
have bodies to match that.
The thing is, you don't really want to do that though.
Well, you as the Gaia Fenris, do you care if the Children of Gaia die?
No, 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 absolutely not.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right, let's do the war then.
Yeah. It looks like you're having trouble there. You want us to take care of it? Gonna
You
cost you
want
a couple Karens.
you want to eat crows and say that you were wrong the entire time and the Gaia Fenris were right because we're always right?
We are.
All right. Next match. Wendigo versus Clan Asimite, aka the Banu Hakim. You remember
Yes.
you remember the boss fight we had with Talib and Naveed and Vampire?
You're gonna have to remind me.
He was the guy who blew up Dentis, blew up half of Grisha's body, and then staked Tabitha with her own blood.
Yes, yes, I do remember that.
And he almost killed you and Vigo in that fight.
Yeah, that was the first time he really took any damage, Sylvester.
That's then you realize just how valuable blood sorcery or Theatus is as a discipline.
Yeah. I think if I remember correctly, Vigo had to put on a brand new leg. Yeah, I took what's his face's leg.
He ripped off Talib
Dentiste.
Navid's leg, and Dentista's leg, and he shoved it onto
Yep.
Vigo.
Uh, no, Vigo shoved it onto me. I'm
Yeah.
walking around with Dentiste's leg.
Oh, right, because you got your legs blown off in the fight. Yeah.
Yep.
So imagine that up against the Wendigo, who have the ability to freeze blood instead of detonate blood.
Interesting.
I have a fun fight with these two because these are both guys who can kill you at a distance. The
Yeah.
Wendigo is very underrated because a lot of their gifts are very strong. Very strong. Uh, you can see in our Halloween special a Poot whenever he used it's the gift that coated his claws in ice. If he was using that against living targets, that would have caused necrosis and would have permanently killed off whatever part of the body he slashed if they survived that fight. And along with that, they eventually get fourth level gifts that allows them to freeze enemies solid at a distance of 30 feet. Compare that to the Assamites, who have Dagon's Call, where it will cause you to drown in your own blood as blood will fill your mouth and throat. You won't be able to vomit it out in time. And the Banu Hakim or Assamite can just walk away as you drown in your own fluids. You can imagine this being a very deadly fight that's going to end in one turn. Now,
Absolutely. Well.
also think about this. These are both very nationalistic groups. I've told you about the Wendigo, and the Wendigo are outspoken racists who hate white people, who hate black people, who hate Hispanics, who hate Asians, who hate other Native Americans, and only like Native Canadians that they can draw lineage to. All the Assamites will never sire somebody if they aren't on board and practice Islam. That's what they both do. Those are two requirements to joining them.
I mean, easy enough, right?
Easy enough, you just gotta convert to a religion or just change your race.
Yeah, it's easy. It's pretty easy. Yeah, you got vicissitude.
It's funny that the Banu Hakim are more tolerant than the Wendigo, because there are a few characters in Assamite First Edition who are white Muslim converts. So yeah, they get multiracial with the Banu Hakim. You don't need to be Arabic in order to join them. Granted, they would prefer it, but we need hitmen. Along
Exactly.
with that, they both spend a lot of time around each other. The Wendigo absolutely love each other as a family unit, while the Banu Hakim, on the other hand, have a system where the newly sired Banu Hakim stays with their sire for 7 years. They're then sent off to a boot camp where they work as an assassin for 7 years. If they fuck up once, they're executed. No questions asked with their own disciplines. But if you succeed, behold, you can now start taking contracts for the world's deadliest hitman.
The Sylvester recently in his in the one shot there
Yeah,
worked with Banu Hakim.
and you can figure out just how powerful he's going to become over the course of the game.
Yeah.
And that's a neonate too, and he's still that pretty strong. And he's talking to you where you have 5 points in Quietus.
Yep. And not just that, dominate too.
Absolutely. Two very deadly abilities. You can just get a guy to turn around, walk over to you as you fill his his throat with blood.
I think I have some in four in obfuscate and another 4 in presence, I think.
Yeah.
3 or 4 in presence. So
It's
he's
it's funny that you're embraced by a Malkavian, but yet mechanically you act more like an Assamite than the other vampire does in our party.
yeah.
So you already have an idea as to how to play these guys.
You got to think he also spent most of his time with Rudy and Geronimo.
Yeah, as a hitman.
Yep.
Now, an idea for a chronicle I have for these two. The Wendigo live around Alaska, and there's a lot of oil rigs there, owned by Endron. They look over at these rigs, and they plan and plan and plan a hit, where they're going to go in and they're going to kill everyone that works for Endron. And then the day before they launch their attack, they learned that the Assamites got to it before they could and slaughtered everybody. There will be no glory to gain for that, and no hearts to sacrifice to Great Wendigo. Now you gotta go figure out that find out where the hitmen who stole your hit are hiding in order to get even with them for stealing your killing glory.
Yeah, that's just gonna lead to more retaliation and destruction.
On top of that, imagine an ultimate manhunt scenario where the Wendigo are the ultimate hunters. They have so many different disciplines that let them hunt and kill other people.
Yeah.
So do the Assamites, where the Assamites are fantastic investigators who will track down their targets across the world. Imagine a hunter-killer game between the two, where they're hunting each other and gotta figure out who can kill who first. That'll make for a fun like PvP game if you want to
Yeah.
run it like that.
Have a group of Assamites and a group of Wendigo fight each other.
And the other thing, these guys both had micronations at a point. The Wendigo have the Nunavut nation. The Banu Hakim and the Assamites had the Ashura, which was the explicitly Muslim um, Brotherhood vampires, where they brought in converts from other clans too. But when Urshulgi, who has Hakim inside of him, awoke and said, "All right, it's cool that you like Islam, but you got to put the Quran down and focus on the fight against Cain and the Antediluvians," that offended the Ashura so much that they quit the clan, all became anti-tribute, and then joined the Camarilla, just to spite Urshulgi, and because they couldn't let go of Islam after it had been their identity for that many years. Like I said, highly nationalistic. You have any ideas for these two?
Uh, no. I mean, like you said, they're both one's an assassin, more like, which is also a type of hunter. So I can see them like not really working together, but trying to out assassin the other assassin.
They're both assigned to the same target, and it's a race to see who's going to get them first.
Yeah,
One's got glory to lose, the other one's got money to lose.
exactly. Yeah,
And I think we have enough time for one more, just one more.
just one more. It's
All
gonna
right.
be the White Howlers versus the Nagas, right?
Oh no, it's the Shadow Lords versus Toreador.
Oh,
Yeah, we're going to show on the screen for a minute. This matchup. List in the comments down below as to how you think this is going to work. If you think we can for enough time for one more, let me know. But Shadow Lords versus Toreador. The Coterie Fanatics. It was hard to think of who to put the Shadow Lords up against, because the Shadow Lords act so much like vampires already that it was really hard to single one clan down. But I ultimately decided Clan Toreador. Now, you
yeah.
remember Tabitha in our vampire game,
Yes.
where Little Miss Sexy walking around with her presence active all the time, and everybody just threw themselves at Tabitha.
Yeah. I
Now
do remember
imagine that with the Shadow Lords, who want to be the center of attention just as much as the Toreador do, but from a more authoritarian standpoint.
that. They want to be running the shit, not just being the center of attention.
Absolutely. You look at the Shadow Lords, and they say, because Grandfather Thunder has decreed it, we are going to be the #1 werewolf. Everybody has to do what we say. Well, the Toreador says, I'm too sexy for my cane, I'm too sexy for my hat, I'm too sexy for my shirt, I'm too sexy for this Camarilla. You gotta do what I say, because I have the milkshakes to bring all the boys to the yard, and I've got the ramrod that everybody wants to hop onto, and
That's
everybody does.
essentially Boa Hancock from One Piece.
Essentially, yeah. It is the
I could
world's sexiest
I
vampire.
I do what I want because I'm beautiful.
Exactly that. Same thing too with the Toreador will love collecting art and will just hang out in their own mansions all day, just look at their art. The Shadow Lords will do the same, but it has like more historical or sentimental value in comparison. They both love wealth just as much. Also, think about this: the Shadow Lords have an alliance with the Russian Camarilla. Now, there is a favorite clan amongst the Shadow Lords, the Ventru. They love the Ventru. They want to constantly talk to the Ventru. They have the mental fortitude to resist dominate.
Yeah.
The Toreador also want the Ventru's attention all day, every day. So essentially, you have like the old story of like the family dog, and the daughter fighting for the dad's attention with these two.
Yeah.
But on top of that, imagine like the whole like spy wars the two can do too, where the Toreador want to figure out who else the Shell Lords have connections to, and possibly where their cairn is, and the Shell Lords want to figure out who all the Toreador have connections to, because the Toreador tend to amass a lot of people as allies.
Yeah.
But also, you could also have these two as allies as well. I mean, the Toreador, I mean, they're an extremely sexual vampire clan, and werewolf can become a very sexy game. Behold, you can just have the two bang each other's brains out the entire time.
Yeah. I mean I feel like they would be a little bit better with the Fianna, but
The Fianna would absolutely lose control. The Shadow Lords are the only ones who could keep pace with the Toreador.
yeah, exactly.
Of course, the Fianna are the kind of guys that will tell you "I love you" on a first date.
Yeah. They and I know if what if Tyler was here, he'd be like, I resent that.
Well, you saw how quickly he threw himself onto Elmira. So,
All right.
exactly. So, looking at the Toreador, they're the only ones who could keep pace with the Shadow Lords, and the Toreador tend to hit it and quit it with a lot of their partners. But the Shadow Lords have such a dominating, mysterious aura to them that they could keep up the interest of the Toreador, where it's not going to be the one lay and then you're done. You're going to keep that Toreador's interest, and then possibly form a connection between the two of them. You would have a very tense friendship, but it is possible that the Shadow Lords and Toreador could confide in each other and end up working. And imagine a situation where a Toreador primogen, sheriff, or prince says, "You've upset me. I'm going to call a blood hunt after you. I'm going to send my boyfriend after you." And you're thinking, "Oh, you're going to send your boyfriend. All right, big deal." And then you turn around and there's a Shadow Lord in Kronos form right behind you.
That's terrifying.
And that's less money. That's less payroll, too. You don't have to hire a whole hit squad anymore.
It's true.
On top of that, they're both fantastic at gathering information. The Toreador have aspects and will use that to see into the past. Well, they will learn the history of objects and people using that. While the Shadow Lords have the Korax and their ancestors, where they can just ask them questions and then just know stuff. So, behold, they're both fantastic at gathering information, and would both be great at information warfare with each other.
Uh, I they Another thing that they both have is the ability to modify memory.
Absolutely. Oh yeah, with presence and with all the different brainwash powers the Shadow Lords have.
Yeah, like if I remember correctly, Dominate, you can use what was it, Cloud Memory
Yeah,
or Modify Memory. It's one of the two. I think both
but
actually.
yeah, that's Dominate. But yeah, I can see the Toreador taking that on as a discipline. But Presence also lets you do something similar to that.
Yeah. I thought
Yeah,
the
you would
Toreador
think with
had
how
Dominate.
yeah, with how sexy the Toreador can be, you would think that too. But that is a frequent fourth discipline that the Toreador will take.
Yeah.
And then the Shadow Lords, behold, these guys weren't in the KGB. Think of all the ways they can get you to do what they want.
Too many ways.
And let's do 4 more minutes. Should we do the last pair?
We can.
I changed it up on you at the last second.
That's all
Black.
good.
We have one more. This is the last one. Black Spiral Dancers versus True Bruja. Yeah, I know what you're thinking. There's a True Bruja, right?
Yeah.
So we will eventually talk about the Bruja. The Bruja, as we know them today, are fakes. The true Bruja are the clan that stemmed directly from Ilias, the Bruja antediluvian, who had the power to stop time.
Time? Like,
Yeah, that's a scary thought, isn't it?
Jesus.
Imagine just how impossible it would be to fight this guy. And because he has that discipline, and true Bruja have popped up throughout history, it is highly likely that guy isn't dead. And that Troil, the guy who stole Clan Bruja, was a faker who said he diabolized Bruja but never actually did. And the Bruja, as we know them today, have only been a bloodline. Pair them up with the Black Spiral Dancers, who are the most unfettered and deadly out of all the werewolves because they're playing with nuclear fire and lasers with their abilities.
It's wild.
Imagine how crazy that fight's going to be. That's a fight that's going to end in one turn. Here's the thing. The reason why I pair these two up, you know just how monstrous the Black Spirals can be.
Yeah.
That is a death cult who wishes to drag down everyone with them. But
Yeah.
the true Bruja, their fatal flaw is that they are detached. They don't feel emotions, they don't feel passions. They're beings that operate off of pure logic without empathy. Keep that in mind. Pure logic without empathy. These guys tend to give in to their beasts very quickly. You have a pure sociopath walking around that can stop time with the true Bruja.
Kind of
Think about
reminds
that.
me of the mage that we were fighting with.
Uh, what Freya? If she went
Freya,
evil?
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Imagine if she went evil. If she was an enemy instead.
That'd be terrifying. I'm
Yeah.
still not convinced she's not.
You spent 16 years with this woman. You still don't trust her?
Well, Grim does. Ryan doesn't. I feel like there's some shit gonna be going on soon.
Or she's going to stick you with a pin, and behold, there's going to be fentanyl inside of it.
Right?
You look at the two, and behold, the most outwardly destructive out of both clans, who are also beings that operate without any source of empathy. Do you have any ideas for these two, or
Uh, no, I can't say that I do. I mean, how
what?
how
What?
we were talking about how Brujas are money orientated.
Yeah,
Would they have anything? Would the Black Spiral dancers have anything
yeah. A
that
Black
they would
Spiral
want?
could trick a Bruja into fighting against a true Bruja. Absolutely.
Interesting.
I mean, given that the Bruja are stupid.
Yeah, you're not wrong there.
And the Black Sparrows are fantastic liars. So yeah, the Black Sparrows will have no shortage of people they can trick into throwing themselves at the true Bruja, and the true Bruja will just kill them all in one turn. Once
Absolute
again,
destruction.
yeah, it's just stopping time, dude. Like Dio Brando from JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. That level of power.
1 minute you're standing there in front of him, next minute your head's rolling off your head, off your neck.
And next minute, you've got 5 different knives in your throat that weren't there before.
Right.
Yeah. So just imagine like how crazy the fight could be between these two. And we've hit the 1 hour mark. Sorry, 2 hour mark.
Yep.
I think we're good for this episode. You got anything else to
Yeah.
think about?
No, not really. I just remember, 10 likes and I'll try and convince him to do a Naga episode.
We'll do the snake people.
Yeah,
Yeah, like, can this video hit 10 likes? Can you please like and subscribe, please?
I mean, they don't have to subscribe.
See. Yeah, we're not going to kiss up to you or anything like that. We at least
Right.
want to have some dignity.
Exactly. We're gonna leave here feeling better about ourselves.
Yes, you're an ant beneath our boot. I don't care what you do. Alright. I'll cut the recording here.
All right. Have a good one, guys.
Alright. Have a good one, GN.